Good morning, everyone. Happy September. We were just chatting about what we're excited about this fall and the hockey season coming up. Curious if anyone in the audience is cheering for a particular team this fall. Let's not create any hostility amongst our users, but might be interesting to see. Give you all a chance to chat into the chat panel. I know, Trent, you're cheering for the Maple Leafs, I suspect.
Yes, please don't say that too loud.
Yep, here, all of us in Vancouver are looking forward to the Canucks playing. All right, well, why don't we get started with some introductions maybe, and maybe you guys can chat about what you're looking forward to this fall as we give the audience a few minutes to chat in their first initial questions here in the chat panel. Maybe I'll get started. So my name's Elizabeth, and I'm going to be helping on the back channel today a little bit with some moderation and explaining to you all how you can chat in your questions for our experts here. So yeah, looking forward to joining you all.
Laura?
Okay, yeah, I'll go next. Yeah, so my name is Laura Wu. I'm one of the experts on the FME server team here at SAFE. I work a fair bit with ArcGIS Online and all that, so I'm here answering any questions that come up in that kind of topic area.
And I'm Mark. I'm with the FME applications experts team. I've worked with Esri mostly on the geodatabase side, particularly around utilities more recently.
Hi, I'm Trent. I'm on the desktop experts team. I work a lot, very closely with Mark. I kind of specialize in anything Esri.
Awesome. Cool. Well, without further ado then, let's take a look at how your audience can engage with us today and ask your questions. So we kind of have two different options for you guys. You'll see on the right panel there's a raise hand option. So if you click that, we'll promote you to a panelist, and then we'll ask you to unmute yourselves and share your webcam. And then you can come on air and ask any question you might have live with us. And then if you'd prefer, there's also the option to ask through text. So that's what you can do at any point through the questions panel there. So all you do is type in your question and hit send, and then we'll come on air and answer those questions as well. And yeah, if we don't get to any of your questions, for sure, you can engage with us after in the community or in live chat. But yeah, we'll try to get through them all today and see how it goes. So looking forward to it. All right, and I'll just leave this up for the remainder of the time in case you forget where to locate that raise hand or the questions panel. All right, so it seems like we already have some questions coming in here. Interesting. So there's one on Tableau to ArcGIS. I'm not sure, Laura, Mark, or Trent, if one of you wants to kick it off with that one.
I can jump in for there.
Cool.
Yeah, so we do have a Tableau writer in FME, but we don't actually have a reader. So going straight from like a Tableau TDE file to ArcGIS isn't going to be an option necessarily. So I think with that, like if your data is stored in some other format, maybe a database or something like that, we could pull it out of that. But unfortunately, we can't go direct from Tableau to other things.
And also part of that question is there a way to incorporate the Tableau dashboard into ArcGIS dashboards? I think that's a question for the Esri folks. I would take it to them. I don't know. I have no idea whether you would be able to do that. I would assume it would be doable, but probably a bit of web programming.
Yeah.
Somebody asked how many people on the event here. It's about 120 of us. Is that right, Elizabeth?
Yeah, that's right. Lots of people tuning in today. Okay. Looks like we have a question on the ArcGIS Enterprise coming in here as well. Does anyone want to take that one?
I can take that one. So the question was, is it possible to have FME remember an enterprise geodatabase connection the way that we can store other database connections? I believe the short answer is technically you might be able to do it using presets with the ArcSDE reader. or writer. I don't believe you can actually make a connection. Let me just pull up my FME quickly just to confirm that. I'm not sure if you can actually create a database connection and have it saved as an enterprise geodatabase. I know you can do it for file and personal geodatabases, but I don't believe we can do it for an enterprise.
Yeah, so that would definitely be something good to add into the product. I think that would be a great addition to the database connections.
Awesome. All right, we're just waiting. Let's see if anyone wants to join us on air with a question, but for now, let's maybe go to the next one we have in the chat here.
Is there a way to read and write Spotfire SDBF? I'm not quite sure what Spotfire is. Trent, Laura, has any of us heard of?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one myself.
Maybe if you can expand on what that is, but it says SDBF, so I suspect it's some kind of a database. And if it is, then you could either see if they've created a JDBC connector for that kind of format or an ODBC connector. And if there is, then we probably could dig some stuff out of that. It might be harder to write, though.
Okay, so go to the next one. There's one, is there a way to publish hosted feature layers to ArcGIS Online with FME with custom symbology applied? So currently, no. So we can write the data up there, but we don't do anything with the symbology at this stage. So that's kind of controlled, I think, in the map once you've added those layers into it. Definitely something to consider in the future to see if there's anything we could potentially do there. But yeah, currently not an option.
I can grab this next one. So question is, can FME update attributes of GIS data under an Esri Utility Network, for example, an address of meter points? Yes, we can. You have to make use of the portal format, and you would have to, you would have to make sure that you're writing to the correct version. But you can apply updates and insert new features into a utility network using FME.
We'd definitely be interested in hearing from other people who are using utility network. Trent and I have done quite a lot of work around that and still continue to do that. So if you are using the Esri Utility Network, maybe you can just throw that into the questions here and maybe what your experience has been, and if you're using FME to get data in or out. Next question up is a feature service question. It's I want to monitor a particular table that's part of a feature service, and when the rows are added, I need to read them and create a PDF. Can we do that in FME server? Is there any way of tracking changes in AGL?
Yes, there's a couple approaches you could take. Yeah, if it's an ArcGIS Online or I think ArcGIS Server, I'm not completely sure on that, but there's an option in there you can actually attach a webhook to a particular feature service. So then when anything gets changed in that feature service, you can have it automatically send a post request to a URL of your choosing and have it do something in response to that. So we've had some, I think we have an article on how to do this. So I can see if I can find that and share the link. But you can use FME server with that. So you can generate a webhook URL. And then in the settings for your feature service, you can attach that URL to the feature service. So when anything changes, you can send a post request with information about what happened directly to FME server and then have FME server run a workspace to process that data. So I guess in this case, you're talking about reading the data and creating a PDF from that. So that's totally doable. So you just have a workspace set up to do that, set up an automation with a webhook trigger on it. So that can be triggered anytime a change happens. Yeah, I'll see if I can find the information for that to share out to everyone.
FME automation on Esri extension tools such as Root Smart. I don't think there is an easy way to do that. I mean, if it's something that you can access just through our regular geodatabase readers and writers or the feature services, you probably can. But if it's something within Root Smart, some actions you want to take within there, you probably have to end up writing some gnarly ArcPy, and you could embed that. People do embed that in FME for automation purposes, but you really have to know your ArcPy to get that working, I think. We don't have anybody from the FME cloud team here. Getting cloud onto a platform that would be able to run Esri tools. I don't know whether we have, I mean, we're moving to Azure eventually. I don't know where that sits right now, but once we're in Azure, I guess we'd be able to run Windows machines that would support Esri products. Is that right? Laura, do you know about that?
Yeah, I don't know too much about what the plans are, but yeah, I know it's a highly requested feature for FME Cloud. So if we're going to be able to do it, we're going to make it happen eventually, I think. But yeah, I don't know what the technical hurdles and kind of what's required to make that happen at this stage are. But yeah, with the move toward Azure and some more Windows-based machines, I think there's a chance for it at least.
Awesome. It might be interesting to see in the audience who uses ArcGIS Enterprise Portal. Maybe we can do a chat storm of anyone who's using that currently. Give us an idea of who's in the audience today.
Boy, there's so many questions flying in that it's hard to keep up.
There is, yeah. Lots to filter through. This is great.
So can FME update a geometric network system? So the Esri geometric network is kind of like the older version of geodatabases, and then the Esri Utility Network is the newer network systems. I think the answer to that is a little ambiguous. It really depends on what you want to update. Particularly, usually geometric networks are working with ArcFM, and they have custom objects in there, so that's a little tricky. We have a couple of articles on our community pages around that, working with ArcFM. But to actually update the network itself, the topology within there, I think that's really hard to do. I'll take this one. Is there a recommended practice for upgrading transformers? So this is quite a common question. So people upgrade their version of FME, and then when you look at the workspaces, there's a tab in the navigator that says all these transformers are now out of date. Should I upgrade them? My own thinking is no, you shouldn't. You should test your workflow to make sure that we haven't broken anything. We do try very hard to be backward compatible. But occasionally, sometimes we do break something, or sometimes actually what happens is we fix something and it looks like your workflow is now not working, but actually we fixed something that probably wasn't working properly anyway. But if it's working, then don't bother upgrading your transformers. It's just not worth the effort. The transformers are versioned, and so they will continue to run in their old way. And so if you have a workspace that's running in the new version of FME, don't upgrade it. And then maybe over time you might decide that, yes, I will upgrade it because there's some new transformers or new functionality that will make it run faster, and then you can take your time doing that. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Awesome. This is a good problem to have. We have lots of questions to sort through. Laura, do you see any there that you might want to hop in on?
Just looking. Yeah, and there's one question about the difference of full FME versus just the Esri version of it.
I can jump in for that one, Laura.
Yeah, I don't know that one as well. Yeah, go for it.
So the main difference is, so if you're using the Data Interop, which is the Esri version, you would get support from Esri, and if you're using full-blown FME, you'd come to SAFE. But there are other subtle differences, mainly, so if you're using standalone FME, you have access to more frequent updates, whereas the Data Interop is locked to a specific version. So if you're using Pro 2.8, I believe currently it's on 2021.0 of FME, whereas the current release is 2021.1.3 or something like that. So there are little differences between them. In terms of functionality, they become closer and closer alike, as the years progress.
And also, Interop doesn't come with FME server, so you'd have to buy FME server separately from us anyway, which is Laura's area of expertise. So if you wanted to automate any of those workflows that you've got with the FME tools, you'd be getting FME server from us anyway. Trent, I don't know the answer to this. Esri Utility Network, is there a way to have a user enter their credentials when connecting?
So that all depends on how your portal is configured to connect, in terms of if you're just generating a token, if you're using a web connection, or if you're using some other type of web authentication. But generally, yes, using the portal format, whether it's the reader or the writer, the user would have to enter credentials.
There's a question about FME using a particular Esri license level and also connecting to ArcMap or ArcPro. I'm not sure about the Esri license level, but if you have both ArcMap and ArcPro installed, I think FME defaults to using the ArcPro libraries in preference to ArcMap. And I might have it the wrong way around actually, but I think we are also just adding something into FME that will allow you to be a bit more selective within the actual workbench, and so you can actually choose which one you want to work with. I think that's correct, isn't it, Trent?
Yes, yeah, there is a setting now in the latest versions of FME that it's under your navigator, under tool parameters, and under the translation section, where you can actually set the ArcGIS compatibility to either be ArcMap, ArcPro, or you can have it set as auto. Auto, I think it grabs ArcMap first if it's available. So if you had the 64-bit background geoprocessing and 64-bit FME, it would default to that over your ArcGIS Pro install.
Looks like we have a new question here. Which version of FME is compatible with Pro 2.8.1?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember, but we do have on our community, we do have an Esri compatibility page.
Yeah.
So you
Let me check out that link.
Do you have that one handy?
Might be able to grab it quick enough for this webinar, but all the compatibilities are up there in a big complicated grid of compatibilities and incompatibilities with different versions of Esri.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. 2.8.x is FME 2020.0.2 or newer.
I'm new to FME and was wondering about writing changes to an enterprise geodatabase environment using branch versioning. I'm not sure whether that's covered in any of our Esri training classes, but our feature services support branch versioning. And I think our enterprise geodatabase writer supports branch versioning as well.
The enterprise geodatabase, just to jump in there, does not. Branch versioning is only available on through the portal, through the enterprise feature services.
Okay, so regular, the older versioning is supported with the geodatabase SDE writer, but not branch versioning. Yeah.
Yet another question. So someone's been getting errors trying to overwrite an existing hosted feature layer in ArcGIS Online using data interoperability when there's very complex geometry in the data. Yeah, I think this question might be a little bit difficult to answer in the context of this webinar. It may depend on the kinds of error messages you're getting and kind of exactly what's going on with that feature service. So if you're finding, like you mentioned, that you'd been trying to fiddle with the features per request and trying to reduce that to reduce the amount of volume of data being kind of sent through the network up to ArcGIS Online, and that's not making a difference, I'd actually recommend probably contacting support for that. So you can contact community.safe.com page and just create a support case with us, and we can help you troubleshoot through that. Yeah, speaking of which, we do have a troubleshooting guide on our community page as well that kind of talks through some of the common errors when working with ArcGIS Online. If you've been changing the features for requests, it sounds like you've probably read that already, but that's definitely a good resource if you haven't seen that one yet too.
I'll chat out that link for the audience as well here.
Oh, thanks.
Photo attachments. So someone's downloaded a geodatabase from AGL and it has photo attachments. Is there a way to grab those photos? It's a long time since I've worked with photo attachments. I don't think we can read them directly from AGL. I might be wrong there. Trent, do you know?
We do actually have an option for that on the reader. So you can choose to read in attachments as well. So you can pull those in.
So maybe they don't actually need to download the geodatabase. They should just read directly from the feature service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that should work. So there's that, just a switch to flip to turn it on, and then you should be able to pull that all down.
Just to add to that, if you wanted to write those to a geodatabase and you want those photos to maintain their relationship with their original feature, you will have to recreate the relationship before writing to the file geodatabase. FME doesn't maintain that, but it is possible. There's an example workspace on our community somewhere. I'll see if I can find that and message that out.
Perfect.
It looks like we have Wilson Lee, who has a question for us, and I'm going to bring him on live to join you guys. So Wilson, when I make you a panelist, you might just have to unmute yourself and share your webcam with us. And let's give that a try there. All right, it looks like you might just be in the process of connecting your mic and camera.
I think he's having audio issues. He sent in a question.
Okay, perfect. Maybe we can answer his question live instead then. All right, Wilson, if you aren't able to connect your audio, no worries. Just, chat with us in the panel there and we'll be sure to get to your question.
I think Wilson's earlier question was around whether we can read ArcGIS Pro, the APRX files, or even the older MXDs. And I don't think that's the case. We can't do that, I don't think. Trent might know.
Yeah, correct. We can't currently read the project file from ArcGIS Pro.
All right. Any other questions you guys see trickling in there?
There's loads. So which versions of FME are compatible with Esri Utility Network? Well, I think probably versions that on the feature services side that started supporting branch versioning. I mean, we would be able to read the top version with any version of FME through feature services, but I think we introduced branch versioning maybe in about FME 2020, I would guess. So 2020 and up, I think, would be supporting the branch versioning, which is really probably what you need to support Esri Utility Network fully.
I see one here asking, how frequently do users need to reauthorize Esri ArcGIS Online or portal accounts? I'm assuming that means the web connections when you're using them within FME. So those ones should be set up using OAuth web connections where you actually log in, you open a dialog pops up when you go to log in that has like the Esri login page for either ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Portal. When that's set up correctly, you shouldn't need to reauthorize manually. So if you are seeing that you do need to do that manually, especially on FME server, there are some additional setup steps that you do need to take to make sure that it can automatically reauthorize once you've got your username and password in there. So in theory, you shouldn't need to do that very often as long as your workspace runs every so often. So we can check on that if you are having any troubles with that.
So back to AGL, somebody's got a relationship table in AGO with a point feature class and a related table, inspection table. And they want to be able to write just to the inspection table every time an inspection is made. I think you should be able to do that, but the trick there is figuring out what your foreign key is in that inspection table. So you might actually have to read, as well as reading your inspection data, you might have to read the original, the parent table, the point feature class, figure out where what your foreign key is on the inspection table so that you're joining those up correctly. So it is a little messy doing that sometimes. Unless you have some external way of knowing what those relationships are. Somebody here is saying that when they were reading ArcSDE, they think they're finding that FME 2019 seems to be slower than 2016. You can see where the time is going by checking the log files, particularly at the end of the log file, the elapsed time and the CPU times. If we are slower, we'd definitely like to take a look at that. So, but often when you upgrade FME, you're upgrading other parts of your infrastructure. So if you've upgraded other things within your Esri environment, that might also impact what FME is doing. But if that does persist, then I would file a support ticket with your FME provider, and somebody could take a look at that and try and figure out where that time is going.
There's another question here on the difference between FME server and the Esri server data interop. So I know FME server, but I'm not sure about the other one. How does that piece work? Is that data interop for ArcGIS server environment? Anyone
I think
familiar
so.
with
I
that?
think
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of
Yeah.
the differences, I couldn't really speak to those. I've never really used the ArcGIS server data interop.
I think it's a way to make ETL tools that you build available in the ArcGIS server environment. So yeah, the functionality would be different. FME server provides ways to automate workspaces and has the automations component where you can use different types of triggers like webhooks and directory watchers and things like that. But yeah, I'm not familiar enough with the Esri server side to know for sure, but yeah, they are totally different products.
And then a question here, can we publish data to AGOL and projections other than Web Mercator?
Yes, I think you can. Yeah, you can set your target WKID if you want to change to a different coordinate system. So you can set that on the writer when you go to write out to ArcGIS Online. So default is always Web Mercator, but you can switch that if you need.
But if you already created your feature classes in AGOL, you would just try and match whatever you've created over there, wouldn't you, Laura?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Can't see any new questions coming in that I don't think that we've haven't addressed here.
Yeah, it's awesome. We got through a lot today. Well, we're always a big fan of giving our safers time back in their day and our audience as well. So if we end a little bit early, that's all good too. But if anyone has any final questions, be sure to drop them in the panel there. And I should mention as well, if anyone has any questions come up after the webinar, you can definitely reach out to us on the live chat at safe.com or engage with us in the community as well. So there's always an opportunity to come and chat with us even after the webinar.
So yeah, just one question that I don't think we did really answer, that was asking about not only, I think I answered the ArcGIS versus ArcPro license, and or API, but not the actual Esri licensing level. So if you're in an environment where you have different licensing levels for your Esri products, I don't think FME has a very cool way of being able to differentiate between those licenses, and so it will just grab one of them. I don't know which one it does grab. I don't know whether you know that, Trent, but it seems to me that that would be a really good question to post up on our community, because I'm sure we've got other FME and Esri users that might have encountered that and would want FME to be a bit more selective. So somebody else might have figured out how to do that.
Awesome. Someone's wondering if there's any training that we'd recommend for someone experienced on the Esri side but new to FME.
Well, we have a whole training program set up that is available. Most of our training is, well, all of our training run from here is free of charge. So I would just hop onto our website. We have introductory, we have both in-class and online training. Just hop onto our website and search that down. And I would start with an introduction to FME Workbench to make yourself productive there. And then I think Trent has run a couple of the Esri courses that are on demand, available on demand now, and you can start working through there. And also a series of articles that would cover working with Esri in the FME world.
Yeah, tons of awesome resources there. I just chatted out the link as well in case anyone's looking for that. Awesome. Any other questions there that we haven't gotten to?
Yeah, somebody did mention there, though, that actually on the, if you're more of a data interoperability user, that Esri actually has a ton of resources on their site around using data interoperability. Maybe I'll just pop the URL that they dropped in there into the chat. So, if you are more of a data interop user, there's a ton of resources on the Esri sites around using the data interoperability extension. Okay.
All right, well, on that note, we hope to see you guys all tomorrow. We're hosting a webinar at 9 a.m. on managing changing data. And I just dropped the link into the chat as well. So be sure to register for that if that's of interest to you. And yeah, if you have any other questions that come up, definitely connect with us on the community or through the live chat. We'll be there. Thanks, Mark and Laura and Trent, for joining today. This was really fun. It's fun chatting with you all.
Thank you. Some good, tough questions there.
Some stumped us for sure. That's awesome.
It's good.
All right. Happy Wednesday, everyone. With that, I'll just leave the webinar running for a few more minutes. And just in case you have any last questions that trickle in, we'll be sure to get to those. But yeah, with that, we'll head out for the day. Bye.